and interact with you if you're viewing.
If you so desire.
If you so desire.
So.
And a special treat for everybody who's watching live right now, I unearthed a photo of Tom and I working on set for Kevin and Nick. Look at that.
Promise it's not a porn.
It's well, you know, it was a little racy to shoot, but there's me on cam and Tom on audio.
Who just got
pretty
mad.
cute.
He just rolled over.
Yes. There you go. Anyway,
right.
special treat for our viewers. Tune in tonight and we'll have lots more treats.
All right, guys.
Sweet.
Screen Radar presents Film Dorks.
Hey, so here we are. Welcome to Film Dorks. I don't know what fucking podcast number this is. Does anybody know?
19.
19. I was just testing you guys. Welcome to Film Dorks Podcast 19. I'm Nick.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Bridget.
And I'm Lucas.
Oh, I guess we did do it in the right order. I don't know. But we did it. We successfully did it without that. We were all really nervous about the introduction tonight, and I think we landed it. You know, we get it done.
Pretty much.
So we're gonna talk about. One of my favorite topics is cult films, but tonight we're talking about some of our favorite cult comedies. And there's some really fucking fun movies. If you aren't sure, check out everybody's back. Well, not everybody's. We got some clues in our back.
Hey, I think we need to start over because
Yeah.
Yep. I was just monitoring it and I know
not on
why. So we need to
YouTube or
start over.
anything.
Stop streaming.
I
Stop
see it on
recording.
YouTube. It's just blank.
You're right. It's blank. It's because I clicked one. I'll stop right now and we'll come on
No,
back.
you don't just fix it.
I gotta shut out OBS. I gotta close OBS and come back on. So
Oh,
just-
I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So stop recording.
Screen Radar presents Film Dorks.
Good day, eh? Welcome to Film Dorks Podcast number 19. I'm Doug McKenzie, and here's the Film Dorks.
I'm Nick.
I am Kevin.
I'm Bridget.
And I'm Lucas.
Wow. See,
Hey, nice to see you, Doug. How you doing up there?
We landed that last time. We did not this time.
How you doing up there in the Great White North, there, Doug?
Oh, pretty good, eh? It's pretty cold, but I got some Elsinores here, and
You're pretty well stocked back there too, eh?
yeah, well, me and my brother Bob got jobs at the brewery, so we get all the beer we can drink, eh?
Hey, I heard there are rumors that if you put a dead mouse in a beer, you get to drink beer for life.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It used to be true.
Or is they sold out to overseas money?
So
It's
what do we,
almost 30 years later.
so Doug, tell us what's happening today on Film Dorks there, eh?
We're talking about cult comedies.
Oh.
Yeah. No, we're so I don't know where else to go with that. Yeah, we're talking about our favorite cult comedies. I'm Tom. This is the first time I've had a shaved face in a decade.
It was
And
worth it, Jamie.
that's pretty weird, but yeah. So one of my favorite comedies of all time is Strange Brew, and
Me too.
Is that 1984, right?
yeah, and it was made by it was directed and stars Rick Moranis and
Yeah, not too many people know about
Rob
this
Thomas.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just saying not too
What was
many.
that, Kev?
Strange Brew is not too many people know about this one. We were a little concerned that maybe, but that's kind of what makes a cult movie a cult movie.
Well, yeah, like no, growing up with this movie, like my brothers
Yeah.
were obsessed with this movie. This was like
Me
one of our
too.
favorite ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, Dave Thomas was the
Dave
guy
Thomas.
who I'm dressed
I
up
said
as.
Rob
Yeah.
Thomas.
And yeah, no, Dave Thomas was probably most famous for his work on SCTV and his Bob and Doug McKenzie, but he is not the owner of Wendy's, who's also named Dave Thomas. So there's that. But the McKenzie brothers started on a comedy show called SCTV in the very early 80s. The Canadian National Television Board told them that they wanted more like pure Canadian representation on the show, and they didn't really know what that meant. And they asked them if they just wanted like basically like drunk country bumpkins, and they said yeah, that's cool. So that's where Bob and Doug McKenzie came from, and they became super popular on SCTV, and then eventually made this movie. And it was released, and it didn't really do a whole lot, and then they never did another one.
We should play the trailer though, so for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's great.
Yeah. Check it out. Here it is.
Somewhere behind granite battlements, beyond impenetrable gates, something evil is brewing, and it isn't Elsinore beer. Here, an unsuspecting heiress has become the innocent pawn of a diabolical genius. What fool dares stand in his way?
Good day, I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going, eh? Welcome to our movie, eh?
At last, television's Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis have just hit the great white screen. The Adventures of Bob and Doug McKenzie.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
That's it. We're leaving, kids. Come on.
Strange Brew.
You hoser, they wanted to see our movie, now they're mad at them. Hey, Cop, it's only a preview, eh? I didn't want to show them the best part.
There it is.
All right. Strange Brew.
Whoa, where'd you go,
I
eh?
love this movie.
It's such a good movie. It is.
Yeah. Doug took off, eh?
We used to quote this movie all
That
the time.
movie worked so well when we were kids because it had like that dog that was like a skunk, and they had him drinking all that beer and having to piss out the fire. It was like a funny kids movie that also had to do with drunk dudes in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this movie for the first time when I was like 10 years old, I think, and like it was the first movie I think that my parents and my other extended family members were laughing their ass off just as much as us kids were. And I mean, I don't know, I've seen it a couple hundred times now, and it's still funny every time I see it.
Yeah, I should have watched it before the podcast just to refresh my memory, but I mean, I kind of know it all so well to begin with.
Yeah, I didn't even have to watch it, like, but I did anyway because it's so fun.
It's worth it, yeah.
But yeah, the basic plot is a retelling of the Hamlet story by way of these two drunk Canadian idiots. They come up with this scheme to get free beer by putting a baby mouse inside of a beer bottle, and then when it grows up, they bring it to the pack store and tell the guy that it was, that they found the mouse in there and that they deserve free beer, and he tells them to go to the brewery. And so when they do, they happen upon this scene where this woman is stuck in the gates, and there's all this electrical sparking going on, and they save her, and it turns out she's the new owner because her father died under mysterious circumstances, and his brother married the dead father's widow like immediately, and they're gonna take over the brewery. And meanwhile, the brewmeister Smith, played by Max von Sydow, is coming up with this scheme of his own to turn mental patients into like some sort of
Evil
zombie
hockey players, right?
Yeah.
warriors. Yeah, with chemicals that he puts in the beer. Mind control drugs. And
mind control drugs in the beer, and it makes.
And he's going to ship the beer to Oktoberfest and get everybody under mind control.
Yeah, it's a completely ridiculous.
But it's Max von Sydow. Like this and Conan were the two
it's-
movies as a kid that like were my introduction to him.
Mhm.
Like I loved him before I knew he was like a legitimately insanely good actor. You know, like
Yeah, and I had the good fortune to sit in the same theater as Max von Sydow at a screening
nice.
of The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. He was at a panel there, and he sat through the whole movie. He was in his 90s.
I was
He
saying,
sat
must
through
have
the whole
been.
movie, and I was like, I didn't know, but I was 10 feet away from him the whole time. And he got up to go on stage, and I was like, holy shit, there's Brewmeister Smith. I didn't think of all the other litany of like amazing performances that guy's done. It's Brewmeister Smith.
that's crazy.
So
That's because that's how you remember everybody.
yeah, right. But there's so much just silliness in this movie. It's so silly. They lamp on Hollywood a little bit. The brothers have supposedly made this movie. What was it, like Mutants from
2054 or something.
And that's like the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
Their homemade
it's so
movie, right?
stupid.
But think about this.
It's
Probably why this
ridiculous.
film though was not as successful is because it's so culty and weird, right? Like they don't follow any formula that you're supposed to, and that's why I think it endures. Like why it's still funny and works. But I think it's also what hindered its success was that.
Dude, that
it was
scene
so
where
weird.
they first get home at the beginning and they grab the beers and like the dad wants a beer because they gave it to the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't the damn
Hoser is
Yosemite
the name.
Sam?
Hoser.
Yeah, it's
It's Mel
Mel
Blanc
Blanc.
doing the voice.
Mel Blanc. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, those little details that are so unnecessary, but they're fucking awesome. Like it just makes the
It
experience.
puts out
well,
the
I mean,
fire.
even in when you consider details, like there's a part later on when they supposedly walk in on their parents having sex, and if you look, it's actually Rick Moranis in makeup and a wig. Yeah.
I think it's such a shame
Yeah.
that like so many kids, especially like later who grew up like later 80s, early 90s, only knew Rick Moranis from like Honey I Shrunk the Kids and as like the nerdy dude in Ghostbusters.
Or Ghostbusters, yeah.
Man, I knew him from
I'm
Strange
gonna admit,
Brew.
I'll admit that I only know him.
You're not alone. Like I think so many
Yeah.
who didn't understand, like who never saw SCTV and never saw like the early Rick Moranis. He was funny as hell, and like
he was awesome.
and all of his roles, especially he was the writer of, oftentimes even Ghostbusters. Like he wrote that character, like he created that character and wrote a lot of his lines and improv'd a lot, and that's what he was used to doing. And so he's like was this comedy powerhouse that kind of got only known for a lot of our generation is like shoehorned into these like Disney guy, or like this nerdy Disney guy. And it's kind of a shame that he dropped that acting only for that reason, that a lot of his legacy of how like hilarious he was kind of got lost.
There's been rumors.
Yeah, he very recently came back. He appeared in a Mint Mobile commercial with Deadpool there.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills. I don't fault him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and John Candy was I guess a big part of getting Strange Brew made.
Not surprised.
Yeah. Well, he was part of the
He was
SCTV.
Yeah, he was SCTV.
Yeah. Those Canadians, man, they're funny.
Yes,
they're
they
funny.
are.
They are funny.
Something about living
Canadian.
in the cold that just
something makes it crazy.
But so Strange Brew, man. If you want to watch a movie about beer, donuts, and
hosers.
dumbasses, it's great.
Yeah.
Did you watch it, Bridget?
I've seen it before. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Nice.
What was your? Did you have a favorite part in particular, or?
No, it took me a minute to realize that Rick Moranis was in it. Like I don't know why I didn't recognize him when I first started watching it. Like I don't know. I kind of was like literally my only introduction to him was Honey I Shrunk the Kids and Ghostbusters. And then the Honey I Shrunk the Kids video that was at Epcot at Disney World for X amount of years. Like that's what I remembered him from. I don't know why, but I thought it was really funny. Like I thought. It was
Well, yeah,
funny.
I mean, his career pretty much took him in sort of the nerdy guy
direction
path. Yeah,
but he also, he also left Hollywood because of his wife's illness.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, his wife
to take care of his family.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as it was to do with probably like, why bother? This is just going to be my shtick now, anyways.
Well, I also heard he expressed a lot of not anger, but like disappointment. We're working for all these Disney movies. He couldn't write his character. He couldn't improvise. Like they were just so
Disney
rigid.
owns you, man.
And that like he was like, I'm not just an actor. I'm also like a writer, producer, creator. So he kind of just was like disillusioned. His wife got sick. I get it. I mean, he made a decision to
he
bounce
said,
to
"Fuck
Hollywood.
it." Right.
So watch his early work. Go see SCTV and definitely watch this.
It would be super cool if they would just hurry up and make Spaceballs 2 and he'd just do it.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about Spaceballs.
Yeah, I mean,
Spaceballs.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Spaceballs. That is like
there was
All right, so who's
there was before we go on, there was a little bit of an effort to revive a Strange Brew sequel that apparently got pretty close to happening in 2019, but it ultimately was never to be.
They should do a crossover of Bill and Ted's and Strange Brew.
Right.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Bob and Doug's Excellent Adventure.
All right, so who's up next?
Who wants to be next?
Well, the other guy that dressed up.
Yeah, the other guy with the funky background. Looks familiar.
I'm curious about that.
About what?
About Lucas's background.
Oh, you want me to go next?
Yeah.
Sure.
But Nick's also dressed up, and he has the background.
It's the shirt, though. It's the shirt.
Okay, so my movie that I chose was UHF. Because we were thinking about cult movies, and for me, one of the first ones that pops into my head is this movie. Because it was like a movie I was obsessed with as a kid. All my friends and I all watched it, like over and over again, because we were huge Weird Al fans. So I just assumed everybody else in the world loved this movie. And like, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people where it's just crickets. They're like, "Nah, Weird Al made a movie?" Like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. And it like breaks my soul. Because as a kid, like, this was one of my favorite fucking movies growing up. I remember every moment of it. And so rewatching it, for this podcast was really fun because like similar to Strange Brew, nothing was like new or surprising. The only thing that was actually surprising is I was like, it really holds up as being like a cult movie because it is so weird. Like it's Weird Al doing his shtick in a film format, which, worked so well for records and albums. But when it comes down to like actually doing stuff for a movie, like I can understand why it just didn't cross over to mass appeal.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's just too weird and off the wall. Because it's partly a spoof at times. They're like spoofing Hollywood movies. There's an actual like music video in the middle of it. The whole movie stops just for this music video dream sequence. I mean, it's just like a hodgepodge of weirdness and odd characters. Anyway, I think you should play the trailer, then I'll get right back into why I love this movie.
Let's take a look at UHF.
Listen, let's get one thing straight. Guns don't kill people. I do.
Channel 62 has the lowest ratings in the history of television. What they need is a new station manager.
No, not him. Forget it. No way.
A man of action. A man of courage. A man of vision.
What's your name?
Billy.
Billy what?
What they get is a man so desperate, he'll put anyone on the air.
Hey, Stanley.
Yeah, George?
How would you like your own TV show?
Okay. You get the drink from the fire hose! Okay, you ready? Yeah! Open wide!
He's Conan, the librarian.
Today we're teaching poodles how to fly.
We beat out the networks. George Newman. He starts where the others stop.
We're the #1 station in town.
Orion Pictures presents Weird Al Yankovic in UHF, the movie.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That trailer made me laugh. I forgot about Michael
Yeah,
Roberts.
so I mean, so many of those moments are just like, I'm like, how do people not see this? So I'll just briefly explain the storyline according to IMDb. So George Newman is a daydreamer whose hyperactive imagination keeps him from holding a steady job. His uncle decides George would be perfect for a man to manage Channel 62, a television station which is losing money and viewers fast. When George replaces the station's reruns with bizarre programs, which you saw in the trailer, ratings begin to soar. Then mean-spirited and cynical mogul R.J. Fletcher, who is played by, who's the actor who's so funny in this? Kevin McCarthy, is such a perfect villain in this. He gets furious, then wants to, destroy the station. So, it's such a basic, underdog plot where, this loser who can't keep a job gets this, and his dumb friend get to essentially program this UHF channel, and they just do the weirdest things, and it's all like a whole underdog story of all these weirdos and offbeat characters who all rally the town around saving this station. So it's like the thing that I kind of forgot is how good of a feel-good movie it works as, like a true underdog story. Right? Like they come back and fight the man, and the man is played by R.J. Fletcher, who's like, so I don't know if people are who know much about
Kevin McCarthy. It's
Yeah, so he was like a staple of Roger Corman films. Also worked with Joe Dante. So he was in like Piranha. He was in Inner Space. He was like, I don't know. He's like such a iconic character actor from all the B movies I loved growing up. So I don't know. This is like one of my favorite roles he ever got because they just gave him so much like cheese. Every scene he just gets to chew the fucking scenery. But this also.
One more quick piece of trivia. When I first moved to LA, the first job I got was booming on a American Film Institute thesis film, and Kevin McCarthy was the lead character, and that was the first celebrity I met in LA. The first time I worked with a celebrity or anybody that I recognized at all, I was like,
I made it, man.
Flipping my lid. Yeah.
Of course, because he's in UHF.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole time I'm sitting there, like, holding a boom over this guy's head, and I'm thinking, like, the people of this town mean about as much to me as a festering pile of dog snot!
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many moments in this movie that are iconic to me. But it also has Michael Richards, that's Stanley Spadowski's pre-Kramer. Like
Fran Drescher.
But it has Fran Drescher, who I had such a crush on as a kid. I'm from Long Island, all right? Jersey girls and Queens girls. Anyway, but like this whole movie had so much for me as a kid that I adored. It also had like questionable racism now when you go look back, like the Karate School, which has so many funny gags, throwing people out of windows. Who is the actor that plays the
I forget, but he's great. He was a staple of 80s movies.
Yeah, he was in what's it called?
They Call Me Bruce, I think.
No, he was in 16 Candles. Hilarious actor.
No more Yankee Wanky.
The best lines. You're so stupid. He has like some of the best lines in the whole thing. So even the racism is like, nowadays you're like, is this? But at the end of the day, like the characters are just all so weird that it kind of doesn't matter. Like truly, like it's so off it's not even like a stereotype. It's just odd. Anyway,
the whole Rambo sequence in that. Fucking kills me every time.
That's why though, it's a spoof movie, but it's also just a straight comedy, and it's so like it's a hodgepodge of weirdness.
Yeah. But it's hysterical.
Anyway, he wears a Hawaiian shirt, and he has these glasses, so that's why I dressed up as.
Nice work.
Yeah. And this scene behind me is this is the camera operator, which makes me think of like all the jobs I've ever worked in New York.
That guy's one of my favorite parts of that movie.
He's fucking awesome.
Just the looks that he gives are amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, that's UHF. Check it out. Well, Bridget, have you seen this one?
Yeah. Well, I was excited because like Weird Al was like one of my first introductions to YouTube when I was younger because he did all the parody songs, and that was so popular. Like we were like when I first got on YouTube, probably like 7 or 8, probably. Like everyone my age was like obsessed with watching like music parodies and like
nice.
It was like when he did Michael Jackson's like Bad, he did like Because I'm Fat,
Yeah.
I'm Fat, and oh my god, like I literally have that. I sing that song all the time. Like I sing so many wrong versions of songs because of Weird Al. Like
But
I
it's
can't
funny,
even
Bridget,
tell
because
you.
every generation has like discovered Weird Al on their own. He's managed to like.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Yep.
Called on episode on Weird Al. That is just like makes you truly love and appreciate his work.
Before I move on, a couple years ago, I took my kid to him and I went to a Weezer and Pixies concert. And when Weezer played,
dude.
When Weezer played, they did the cover of Africa by Toto, and Weird Al came on with his it was
What?
and
Their cover's
sang
really
the song
good.
and played with him. Yeah, and then Weird Al played with them and sang the song with them. It was fucking awesome. They
I
were
love
freaking
Weezer.
out. I was like,
Oh my God.
By the way, we do have to give some shout outs to Dr. Jexter, who was commenting on our Twitch channel that
Yes.
about Rick Moranis is a dope dude and power to a good dad. So Nick, same power to you for that decision. Dr.
I've seen
Jexter
some
said
dope
that
concerts
Moranis
with
is
my
a good
kid,
dad,
man.
and I say you were a good dad.
Thank you.
For taking your
I appreciate that.
One other tidbit about UHF is it didn't do so well because Weird Al certainly had a following at that time.
Yeah.
But it was released the same week as the Michael Keaton Batman movie, which at the time, like, it beat out E.T. and Jaws and all. It was like the biggest movie ever, and so literally UHF just got swallowed by
Buried, yeah.
But you think
it's found
like,
it's found a following.
Batman
There's
sold out.
people-
You go watch UHF anyway.
There's plenty of people that watch UHF, and hopefully more people will watch it now.
I'm just
because
sad
it's
he never
funny.
got that he never got a career of filmmaking. Like we saw how good he did with music videos and then on YouTube. Like I just would have loved at least a couple more Weird Al movies.
I wouldn't have minded those either.
Anyway,
Other than cameos in movies, but whatever.
he had a fine career. All right,
So
moving
where
on.
are we going? Where are we going next?
Where we go next?
What cult realm are we diving down next?
Well, Nick, why don't we go with you?
All right. Well, as you can see from this car that I just repoed behind me, I'm going with the 1984 punk rock classic Repo Man.
Nice.
I remember this movie. I was probably like 13 or 14-ish. Like I was a teenager when I first saw this, 14, 15 years old. And I was big into punk rock at the time. And this movie just, the soundtrack alone in this movie is one of the best soundtracks on cinema ever. And it's one of Alex Cox's first films, which kind of shows his visionary abilities, for certainly, especially at such a low budget. But why don't we play the trailer and we'll get back into why I love Repo Man.
All right, here she rolls.
What you got in the trunk?
You don't want to look in there.
It's all part of a cosmic unconsciousness.
You eat a lot of acid, Miller, back in the hippie days? This is swell.
Charming friends you got there, Otto.
Thanks. I made it myself.
I had a lobotomy in the end.
Lobotomy? Isn't that for loonies?
There we go. Repo Man. It's not just a job, it's an adventure.
It's an adventure.
Yeah,
I
it's an adventure.
I cut the trailer from 2.5 minutes to 1 minute, and I like almost didn't want to do it because I loved all the scenes I had in the trailer, and I was like,
Yeah.
So then I went back and rewatched the whole fucking thing because,
It's a great fucking movie, man. It's a classic. This is a
Tell us why you love it.
This is a total cult classic. Certainly a movie that didn't like kill at the box office and it got mediocre reviews, you know. But it certainly established Alex Cox as a filmmaker. And it stars Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton.
Was this like Emilio's first film, or did he do the?
I think it.
What was the one with those Brat Packers in it?
I don't.
The Outsiders.
Yeah, that may have been before this, and if it wasn't, he probably did like some really bad TV or something. But it's certainly one of the movies that kind of helped launch his career, and it quickly became an underground hit because of it. You know, it definitely had a punk rock attitude, and you know, so basically this movie is about a punk rock who's recruited by a car repo company, right? And then he finds himself in and there's like the Chevrolet behind me becomes a highly wanted repo, and it's worth $20,000 and nobody really knows why. It's driven by this fucking super weird dude with like one eye and then there's something glowing in the trunk, and so he ends up working for this repo company, this punk rocker, and then gets involved in trying to hunt this crazy car down. And the movie's really weird, and it's not your, you know, like if you watch this movie, it's not your typical like, oh, I've seen this before. It has a really anti-capitalistic fucking tone to it, and a punk rock kind of edge to it. And the characters all suck.
Getting fired. He's working at the grocery store. And he's just like, "Fuck you guys," and he shoves the dude into the
right. I love when he comes in.
I was like, no wonder why I was such a shitty little punk kid.
Totally. Totally, it was me. And when he goes into the repo office the first time after like Harry Dean Stanton tricks him to fucking repo this car, and he goes in there and they're like offering him a job, and he grabs a beer and he just pours it on the ground.
And somebody's pissed on the floor.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the whole thing through the whole movie, if you in the grocery stores, everything you see or in the like anything they have, it was the old school generic logo. And at that time, like in the early 80s, if you got generic food that wasn't name brand, it literally was black and white, and it would say beer, cereal, like applesauce. You know, it looked like prison food. Like they let you know what fucking class you were part of by buying that food. But so it had a lot of edge in that way to it too. And Harry Dean Stanton fucking chews up every scene in this movie. He's amazing. I mean, this movie is his.
In a way, he is the star. Even though Emilio Estevez is like the main character, Harry Dean Stanton's like the soul of the movie.
Yeah, totally. And it gets really weird, you know, with the whole weird fucking car and what's in the trunk. Which
that whole the trunk thing is like Tarantino kind of ripping off.
I was going to say Tarantino totally ripped off Repo Man with the glowing briefcase. It's absolutely the trunk. Of course
he did. That's all he ever does is rip stuff off.
But he pulls for the best, damn it.
He's the greatest thief, and he's actually really talented at stealing and putting his own stamp and vision on it. I give him a lot of credit. But yeah, he's Hollywood's greatest thief.
But he did steal the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And why wouldn't you? Like, you know, I mean, when we sit down and write, it's usually we're pulling off what we've been inspired by. So,
one of the things, Nick, that I had forgotten how much I loved about this movie was the entire cast. Like, Harry Dean Stanton and Emilio, I always loved in it, but like you click down the list through all their different repo dudes, all of their own personality. He gets to have an adventure with like each of them. It's just so like it's such a the world feels very lived in and real, and that's what's so crazy about this.
It's really gritty.
Yeah, it's like dirty. Everything, the photography, the production design, it feels punk rock, like all of it.
Yeah,
it's like
everything.
It's haphazard, but it all fucking works. Yeah,
it's one of the great punk rock movies. Like
this and Penelope Spheeris's Suburbia.
Yeah.
Are like the two in my, and well, also Dudes that she directed. But anyway, this and Suburbia are like, in my mind, the two of the iconic punk rock movies that everybody should watch in their lifetime.
There's a lot of new girls that would go with SLC punk too.
Which is good. It's good. It's
I
nice,
agree.
I
It's good, but it's not these two. Yeah.
It didn't leave a mark like these ones.
It's the Green Day of punk rock movies.
Yes. Which, yes, it is. For some people, that was their punk rock, which I don't want to piss,
so I can get it.
Fucking piss
but it also didn't, fucking Shaggy. I don't know.
Yeah, so
this is a punk rocker.
I was when I was doing a little research, it's without the soundtrack, this movie might not have been made because it was made by Universal, but when the movie was shot, but there was a regime change at Universal, and they wanted to just put it on the shelf. They didn't want to release it, and the old RCA executives got wind of it, and they called up their counterparts at Universal and, just said, you gotta make this movie. I mean, Circle Jerks, Fear, Black Flag.
Black Flag, Circle Jerks, fucking Suicidal Tendencies. Like the whole first half hour of this movie is like a fucking old school punk rock music video. It's just so much fun. I love this movie. You absolutely, if you've never seen it, especially if you enjoy punk rock music, go get schooled.
Also, it's interesting that Emilio Estevez, like, he kind of made two cult movies back to back because he did Repo Man and then his next movie was The Breakfast Club.
Right.
Yeah, and that's definitely a cult. But
Breakfast Club
certainly a
cult though, because that was like a hit, I thought.
That actually did very well, but it had a huge following since. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we got into that discussion in our film, in our Dork Out. So go back and watch that discussion for further what.
I guess you could still call it a cult film though, because even though it did well, there's a lot of other movies that did well that
don't have that level of fandom.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely has a cult feel to it for sure. But
listen, when people dress up,
Repo Man's one of my favorites.
And when you dress up as a character for Halloween and people don't know who you are,
right,
you're part of a cult.
Chances are, you're part of a cult.
When you have to explain your Halloween costume. I'm Bender from. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And
Molly Ringwald's character.
Emilio's agent manager did not want him to do this movie, but Emilio loved the script so much.
The script.
He just laughed his ass off, and he just persisted, and
I mean, I do kind of love that Emilio and Charlie Sheen have like totally different career paths, and how Charlie kind of was the more commercially successful Sheen.
Yeah.
And Emilio,
except for that one movie that they were in together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We could have been
Garbage Man one.
Garbage Man. Yeah.
The Men at Work, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
Because Keith David is in that movie, and he owns that fucking role. He's so goddamn good in that role. Anyway,
who?
Keith David in Men at Work. Pizza the Kong. Right. Anyway.
So that's Repo Man. Let's move on. Who wants to go next? Bridget or Kevin? Let's Bridget. I want to know. Let's go back in time to the earliest of the cult comedies that have been chosen tonight. Why don't you introduce your movie?
All right, so we are going to be talking about Harold and Maude next. Now, I don't know. Do we want to play the trailer first?
I think we need to.
Let's get a little. Play the trailer first. Let's get a little taste of what we're about to talk about. Here we go.
Taste of thing.
Well, if you want to sing out, and if you want to be free, be free.
That he may bless and deliver all souls of the faithful departed, bring them to the bliss of heaven and eternal peace. O Lord, grant him forgiveness for all his sins. By the help of your grace, you who live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
I believe in capital punishment for murder. Absolutely, yes. What?
It's all right.
It's organic.
How apropos for 2021. Any race, age, creed, religion, except.
Dude, Al Ashby was so ahead of his fucking time, man.
Way ahead of his time. He was a genius.
Watch the
He's a good
documentary.
actor.
We'll talk about that when it's.
Yeah.
Let us know when it's.
So Bridget never seen this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was my first ever taste of Harold and Maude. I'm not going to be able to get through this.
How'd it taste?
All right, so it starred
Bud Cort.
excuse me. Yeah, Bud Cort as Harold and Ruth Gordon as Maude. And to give you like the briefest synopsis possible, as provided by IMDb, of course. So you have Harold, a young, rich, and obsessed man with death who finds himself forever changed when he meets the lively Maude at a funeral. So
That doesn't quite prepare you for what you're gonna watch.
Okay, so that's all I read before you guys told me nothing about this movie. I just was like, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna look it up. I just looked up who was in it, and that was it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like, I have never been so mentally unprepared to watch a film in my life. Like, so I'm gonna, right off the bat, the first time I watch it, like, I was horrified. Like, horrified is probably, like, best case scenario. I was not expecting like it to go in that direction whatsoever. So anyways, the opening scene is Harold, who like basically like has himself, he like hung himself quote unquote, and his mother walks in and is like totally unfazed by the scenario. So I'm like, is the mother Maude? Like, you don't find out right away. And I thought, just like the way he looked, Harold, I thought he was like a 10-year-old boy. And then all of a sudden, like 3 scenes later, he opens his mouth and he has this really deep voice. And I was like, oh, he's a man. Okay.
Well, just you wait.
Just wait. And so, yeah, his mother is like, I would say, she keeps trying to set him up on all these dates, and he is just.
And they're like they're wealthy, right? They're like very wealthy.
Yeah. He's very well-to-do, well-off, and I mean, he's just not interested in it at all. Every time this mother brings a new date over, he's like plotting some sort of fake death and running them away, and it's so elaborate. Like, he sets himself on fire, and like, you know, just like he does all this crazy stuff. And so, like, one of the things his mother wants to do is like buy him this sports car, and so he ends up buying himself a hearse, and he's driving a hearse, and he starts driving, like, he becomes like a funeral driver. Like, he drives caskets to and from these things in hearses, and that's at one of these funerals he meets Maude, who is this older woman. I would have liked to know that it would have turned into a rom-com. If people want to watch this, it is. I would clarify this as a rom-com. I don't know if you guys would agree or not.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. But that's the difference, Bridget. When I was growing up, this was like such a known movie. Like, it was like, oh, Harold and Maude, that's where the young guy and the old woman fuck. Like, that was the movie. So when I went into it, but I knew what I was getting into watching it. So like, I didn't have any of that discovery that I'm jealous, actually, that you got to discover that movie. Like,
because this movie's like sushi. Like, the first time you watch it, it might leave a weird taste in your mouth, and you might be like, I'm not sure I like that. But like a few weeks later, you're gonna crave it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's exactly,
just like Harold did.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ignore that comment. Well, so literally, I watched it, and the movie ended, and I was basically like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, I genuinely like did not know what to do next. Like, I was like, I gotta put something else on, like, because I can't go to bed with this like on my mind. We're gonna have horrible dreams.
You need a palate cleanser. Like, well,
yeah,
right, so
what is going on?
It has a certain level of darkness, and
there's a lot of dark humor.
It's very weird. But upon repeated viewings of this film, there's so many layers to it, and it gives it like Maude is a complete sage. You know, like she's like a goddess.
Cars.
You
Everywhere
know,
she goes, she just steals a car.
She's amazing.
That's the thing. That's the thing. When I watched it again a second time, and it was like, okay, like I wasn't like I knew what to expect, and so I
Yeah.
started paying attention, obviously, to different parts of the film. I mean, Maude, I mean, she's phenomenal in this
Yeah.
movie.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's the actress?
Nobody would ever
Ruth
write a role like
Gordon.
that again.
Ruth
for,
Gordon, yeah.
older women.
I mean,
She's also in
phenomenal.
Any Which Way But Loose and Every Which Way But Loose, which are also cult favorites of mine.
All right, yeah, that could have been on
I
this
mean,
episode.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend. It definitely worth the watch, like 110%. It's like one of those. I think it's one of those movies that you have to see, and just if you're gonna watch it, don't look it up, don't look anything up, just watch it. Just watch it.
Invite your parents.
Don't invite your parents. Watch it alone.
Quick question for you though, Bridget. What did you think of the soundtrack? And have you heard? Were you a fan of Cat beforehand?
Yes. Okay, I did want to bring that up because I was singing along the whole movie because I mean the soundtrack is amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
amazing.
Some songs for that movie, right?
Yes. And I mean, I think that's also what I think that's probably what kept me in the movie and didn't make me turn it off after halfway through. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of weird elements mixed into this film.
It makes me cry by the end every time. When they get to the end of it, it's like so sweet.
Right at the end
Yeah.
at the end of the second viewing, it actually kind of struck a chord. I was like, wow, it hits different. The second time
totally
around.
does.
I recommend watching
Once-
from here. Watch Being There. Being There is the less fuck your mind up version of this. It's incredible. And then there's also The Landlord, which is a heavy movie about race in the 70s that is such the black perspective, directed by a white dude, by the way, which I mean, I'll give Hal Ashby credit. Nobody else wanted to make that film, and they were not going to let a black person direct at that point. But it's worth watching. Go back and watch that one because it's kind of Harold and Maude, but with racism. Not with racism.
Don't confuse that Landlord with the Landlord that Will Ferrell made to launch
Or the one with Joe
Funny or
Pesci.
Die movie.
Yeah,
Joe Pesci
yeah.
So one quick note about this. So there's, it does turn into a romance, and Harold falls for Maude, right? And there's a post-coital scene in this film where it's after the two of them have had sex. However, Hal Ashby was fighting in the studio trying to shoot a sex scene between Harold and Maude. He lost. Paramount said, "Hell no." But
I'm gonna be honest with you. If that scene stayed in and I watched this movie, I would have quit. Absolutely.
You would have quit our old podcast.
See, but if
I'm never watching another movie again.
I would have probably liked it even more because I would have been probably 12, 13 years old when I first saw this movie. And if I had seen that sex scene, I would have laughed so hard. It would have been the funniest thing I had seen at that time by that age.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
It would change the course of your whole life.
I was a teen boy. I would have found it really, really funny. As an adult, I might find it more disturbing. But
There's
I was checking out National
way weirder
Geographic
stuff on
to see
YouTube.
titties.
Or
Come
not
on, give me a break.
Porn tube. But no, but this in general, when it comes to Hal Ashby as a filmmaker, also not only his films, watch the documentary they made on him. I can't remember. It's on what's the free library movies channel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
But there's a good documentary that he was an interesting weirdo who started out as an editor, and he edited a lot of super big influential movies.
It's actually called Hal. It's just called Hal.
It's just called Hal.
Documentary. Yeah.
It's good. I mean, and like most biopics, it's kind of annoying where they kind of brush over all his faults. They're like, he was a womanizer, it was fine. But but it's worth watching it just to remember the films that he's made and kind of how much he was constantly fighting everybody and pushing for, doing more, staying more, and doing more with his films. That you think the studios really wanted to do that? No. So he had to fight all the time for the films.
In other words, he would probably
it's worth watching.
He'd probably be canceled these days
for the sex scene.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And history will judge whether they were right or not.
Yeah.
All right, so we're do our final one now.
Yep.
Our final one.
Yeah,
It's-
the final
it
one.
all lands in Kevin's lap.
It's not the lap you want it to land in. So.
I say different.
That Hal documentary, by the way, is on Amazon Prime. So, if you want to sponsor us.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I had to watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was a musical horror comedy parody. It's shot in 1975, and I remember trying to watch this movie twice in the course of my life, and I didn't get it. So I'm gonna play the trailer right now and let you know how much I kind of really didn't get it after I watched it again. Got a little bit more, but check out the trailer. You'll see.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show is wonderfully weird.
I'm your new commander. You now are my prisoner.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
It's a trip to transsexual Transylvania.
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
From transsexual Transylvania.
So give yourself over to absolute pleasure. See the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's do the time warp again.
All right, and there's that. Basically you have a musical, a theatrical musical production turned into a movie.
Great.
What's the plot?
What's the
plot?
Explanation.
What is the plot?
It's a newly engaged couple. They're driving their car late at night and they get a flat tire, and they're stuck in the rain and they have to. They thought they saw a castle just over by the wayside there, so they figured, hey, they might have a telephone there. It's 1975. So they end up, stumbling upon this castle and get invited in and are, introduced into a world of just zany characters.
Well, it's basically Frankenstein, right? Like they go to the castle,
Yeah.
and Frankenfurter, he's
Frankenstein
got a
Place.
sexy ass
See?
monster, and there's
Yeah.
an Igor, and it's it's basically like a campy musical version of Frankenstein,
Yes.
but full of like
Loosely based.
homoerotic, visuals, and it's certainly a strong pro, LGBTQ.
Right.
Yeah.
This
voice.
kind of came from the underground of the New York scene, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Don't just dream it, be it.
Be it,
right?
exactly.
So,
yeah.
but you watched it twice, right, Kevin? But you're watching it
Just once. I meant to watch it
just
twice. 'cause
once, but
Go ahead.
even
watched
if you've
it-
seen it before, watching it at home alone, this movie
Not the
doesn't
right way.
really
And
work.
Exactly, and that's what kept on playing in my mind. I was like, man, I wish I had somebody to watch this with. I would enjoy it more.
Really
Or,
seeing it in a big theater full of people where they're throwing shit and
I liken this.
yelling
I liken
lines.
this to
and,
a sports game. You
Yeah.
can watch football at home alone, right? And it's fine. It's fine. You get animated. But when you watch it in the arena with all the fans around you, then it's
You'll literally just like
people
start
like it.
pissing on another person 5 rows down that's rooting for the other team because you've had that much beer and you just like.
Full
hate them.
disclosure, Nick's from Buffalo, and if you've ever been to a Buffalo Bills game, that would not feel
You're getting
normal.
pissed on.
Yeah.
parallel.
No, but like
Yeah.
seriously, it's the same thing. Going to a live show of midnight screening of Rocky Horror Picture Show is like going to a sporting event with rabid fans because they know all the songs, they know all the chants, they know all and they all dress in costume, and it's like it's the equivalent of going to a sports show.
It's
well, like I said, when I saw the first time I saw this, I was like 8 years old. My dad took me to a big screening of it. And I like dressed up, but I didn't know the movie, so I just dressed up as a crazy scientist, like crazy, like totally like Doc Brown,
Nice.
And my dad took me, and it was in bonkers, like everybody's dressed up, people are getting on the stage, like shit's thrown around, everybody's yelling lines, like it was super fun.
Yeah.
But as I've watched it after that, I'm like, there's a couple good musical numbers, and you can't deny how fucking brilliant Tim Curry is in the movie. But
amazing.
Overall, as a film experience, it's just kind of like, all right, I've had enough of this after 20 minutes, But I'm also not a fan of musicals, so there's that.
I'm not a fan of musicals either.
See, I'm a huge musical fan. Like I love musicals. I saw this when I was younger, but like the in-person experience is really what makes this whole thing. Because it's just like such collective. That's why like Sound of Music screenings are so popular. Like people go to the sing-along versions because it's all just die-hard fans. Yeah, Nick is horrified right now.
The only other movie to get this really kind of like participation thing going on was The Room.
Yeah, I was gonna say
for a completely different reason because it's a horrible movie. But there's a thing about. I mean, this isn't a great movie, but it's really fun to participate in.
Right. And
that's like with The Room, it's more of a coping mechanism. Like everybody's just trying to get through it together, Or whatever. This one just becomes like an event in and of itself, where almost the movie doesn't really matter. It's like the whole.
Right. That's what I was trying to do through the
movie. Whole
experience. I just want to get through this movie. Just the movie itself.
You know what would be a cool idea? I wonder if Tommy Wiseau would like come on to like a live screening of his movie.
If there's a camera there, yes, he'll do it.
And we just all like ask him questions while we're watching The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
You probably could make that happen, yeah.
The one thing I was really impressed with was the fact that it was done in 1975. And it was because it was based on a book and a play, right? A London theatrical.
Yes.
It was a play.
Right. But I really liked the way that they shot it. They really kept that theater, that element of theater.
And the choreography.
Even the...
Yeah.
The camera work they did was reminiscent of like the old dance movies from like the 30s.
It's very theatrical.
Yeah. And I really appreciate it for that. Yeah. I did really enjoy that, and the acting.
It's a really well done film. It's just it
is
not a musical.
I mean, the screenplay is kind of like the story and the plot is kind of shoddy, So my analytical mind is like, well, what are you trying to say here, But
Yeah, see, this is one of those films.
Speak like that.
Yeah.
Does it literally say,
"Hey, Kevin"? Hey, it's like a Gilbert Gottfried and Sean Connery.
Compare these two utility
Gilbert Connery is a great character we need to invent. But anyway, Bridget, sorry, we keep cutting you off.
No, you're good. No, I think this is just one of those movies you need to like kind of just like turn your brain off and just kind of enjoy it in the moment because it's not going to make sense otherwise. And I mean, the numbers are very illustrious and it's very like the songs are catchy and there's a lot going on. It's very flashy. It's just kind
Meatloaf's in it on a motorcycle.
Meatloaf is
which makes this part of the Fight Club cinematic universe.
Oh. Yeah, totally.
Hop Patootie. He sings Hop Patootie.
And Death, his name is Robert Paulson. It's tits.
Funny fact. I don't know if it's well known, but the guy who plays Rocky, Dr. Frankenfurter's, boy toy that he brings to life. He was an underwear model in London who had no acting experience.
Makes sense. That's all he wore.
Yeah.
That's all he wore.
Well, that's what all they wore. And Susan Sarandon, by the way, very nice.
Oh yeah.
But
very nice.
His acting
always great.
His acting was so bad. They cut all his dialogue and they brought in a singer to sing all his lines for Rocky. Yeah. Every single time he spoke, he was singing, and it was someone else's voice.
Yeah.
And actually, the same thing with the lips, the iconic lips. It's based off of a painting. I'm forgetting, who did it and what time it was, but it was based on a painting.
Warhol.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
It was Mick
Warhol.
Jagger's lips. Right?
Mick Jagger, though, right?
It was his lips, but not his teeth, because it would have been all teeth. All teeth and lips. There would have been more teeth.
They would have gone in so many directions you couldn't even pay attention.
But it was.
Yeah, he could eat a cob of corn through a chain link fence.
Dude, I love the Jagger swagger on stage.
He should have been cast.
Do karaoke. You don't even have to sing well. You just have to do the Jagger swagger.
He would have been perfectly cast in that movie. Holy cow! But the actress who originally who originally sang it in the London production, those were her lips on screen.
Oh no!
But they did not like her voice, and they recast the voice. So it's her lips and someone else's.
Well, that's cool because it does add a weird it does feel off anyway, like all the movements.
Yeah, it definitely has a 70s feel to this movie in a lot of ways too. There's a lot of things that are appealing about this film, but it's just hard to watch unless you're watching with a big group of people or in a midnight movie setting type thing.
How excited I am to I would kill to be able to go to see that movie
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes.
I cannot.
Well, you might be able to pretty soon because it seems like a lot of places are opening back up again.
That's right.
Once I get the shot.
And vaccines, man.
We all need to go to Texas if everything's open in Texas.
Well, everything's open where I am in Idaho. When I went to the restaurant today to pick up my food, every table was packed, not a mask in sight, and I was like, "I'll be back in May."
This is double fingers. I'll be back.
I'll see y'all back in May and June, baby.
I will. I would definitely, if there's a live screening, I definitely want to go to it.
I'm dying.
What's actually funny, I asked my sister, who is here.
You axed her?
I asked her. Yeah, which...
We got to get back to that slasher series.
Well, speaking of axe, that's the one thing I didn't... My
Body
analytical
spray.
mind, when Dr. Frankenfurter axed Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
What was Meatloaf's deal? That's what it was driving
He
me
was
nuts.
Meatloaf, and so he was chopping him up to serve him
They
up.
needed, they needed that extra character to come and sing another song.
Yeah.
Like,
they needed
that's what-
Meatloaf.
Yeah.
And he
They
came
needed
in
Meatloaf
like
to
a
do
bat
it.
out of hell. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he came in on the motorcycle.
And then they ate him later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They ate him later.
That was a
They had a
Meatloaf album,
Meatloaf.
bat out of hell.
Fantastic. But I asked my sister. I was like, "You want to watch this movie with me?" And my sister has really different taste. She's not a big movie person. And I was like, "Well, let me show you the trailer first."
By the way, Eric Sang
like,
just
"No,
said
thank
he's
you."
watching from Texas, so
Oh.
we can't.
So
we didn't mean to bag on Texas.
that's my brother.
Sorry, Eric.
That's my brother. That's actually
it's
my
Eric.
stepbrother. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have fun
Anyway,
getting
guys,
COVID, Eric.
we're way over time now. We're at an hour and 10
kidding.
minutes. I guess we
That's
started.
Okay.
No, we
Let
started.
me say one thing.
We
Wait,
started
okay, so
in we got 5 minutes left.
yeah, so let me just say this. So so there's all these awesome cult movies we talked about with huge followings.
Yeah.
But I was tasked by Kevin
That's me.
to watch Grown Ups.
Grown Ups starring
With
Adam
an-
Sandler.
Yay!
Wait,
Yay!
one or Grown Ups 2?
One.
Thank
I
you.
was tasked to watch Grown Ups 1, and Kevin had talked about how he didn't like it when he watched it the first time, but upon repeated viewings, he became a soft, sappy bitch.
Yep.
And he started liking it.
That's
so I
that's
did
correct.
watch it. Now let me say I did half of my homework this week, teacher. I did not finish. Yeah, exactly. He's right there. Look, he's tired. He's exhausted. He ate half the movie. I couldn't finish it.
Exhausted him.
It's exhausted from you yelling at him.
Yeah, I do yell at my dog. You know why? Because the dog needs to be dominant.
Speaking of Rocky Horror Picture
Are you
Show,
gonna cut his vocal cords?
No, but he's getting his right. He got his vocal cords cut. I get it. That's funny. No, so I watched this movie. I did watch it again, and I can understand why there's a sense of nostalgia to this film.
Thank you.
And why it panders to your depression. But
Okay. Fair Fair point. No, fair point. Fair
I
point.
get it. There is a sense of nostalgia. In the beginning of the movie, I did feel a little nostalgic. They do build well on that. But as it goes, it's just one comedian after another fucking trying to force the same joke down your throat the entire goddamn movie, and it sucks.
Wait,
I'm
what joke?
sorry, this
What do you mean
movie
same
blows.
joke? Same joke.
It's
Name two same jokes.
We're talking
Playing
about
yourself.
Okay, like the
You
most
liar.
stereotypical fucking characters. Like every single one is such a brutal stereotype with no real like character development. It's just they're just sapping into your fucking emotional bullshit. And it's then it's Chris Rock and it's Adam Sandler and it's David Spade and it's fucking Kevin James and it's Rob Schneider, and they're all fucking trying to tell the same goddamn joke over and over again. I'm Rob Schneider. I'm the crunchy dumb one. I'm Adam Sandler. I'm the set. I feel bad about myself because I'm so successful. Fuck this movie, man. Fuck you two, and fuck grown-ups. That's my thing.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful, idiotic ending there.
Well, Nick, I've heard Grown Ups 2 is the superior movie, so you can't hate Grown Ups.
No, it's not. It's not.
I'm not being tricked by you.
I've never seen any of them.
Your
I've never
Hawaiian
seen any of them.
T-shirt.
No, it was made by the John Wick stunt team, I think.
Tom, have you seen these? Grown Ups 1 or 2?
No.
It's like, no. Adam Sandler? No.
No, I'm going to take on the challenge. Now that Nick failed and didn't finish it, for all you know, Nick, all the best jokes...
Listen, I admittedly, I didn't finish it. I got to be honest, because I totally forgot about my homework until an hour and a half before the podcast, so that's when I started it. But I wouldn't have finished it because it made me want to punch the TV by the time I had to shut it off anyway.
Sounds like you have some unresolved issues there, Nick.
Oh, yeah, who hurt you?
Oh, and he's out. He's out.
You did, Tom. You hurt me. Tom abuses me. He's abusive. He lives around the corner, and sometimes he comes in the middle of the night and just... It's not...
Like the night man cometh?
The night man cometh.
All right, I think it's time to end this podcast.
Right. Hey, Bridget, take over. What's up?
Absolutely. So if you want to listen to more Film Dorks, make sure to check us out on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify. And make sure to give us a follow on @ScreenRadar. We are on Twitter, Instagram, at Facebook, on Facebook, all at Screen Radar. And make sure to hit us up on Letterboxd. We have a lot of great lists up on there, film reviews, everything.
Forget to keep updating.
I fucked up. I didn't put up the Cult Movies Letterboxd, but I'll do that first thing for tomorrow.
And I have to put up the superior John Carpenter film list.
Yes.
Yeah, and Nick,
I need
a grown-ups report first thing in the morning.
So cue up that VHS tape, Nick, and finish your grown-ups.
Just, you know what? Just clip out my rant, send it to me, because there's no fucking way I'm writing more than 3 words for this fucking movie.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.
See you next week.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into another Film Dorks. I'm Tom.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Kevin.
I'm Bridget.
And I'm Lucas.
Oh, that was much better. See, we landed at that time.
That's all of us. See ya.
One of these days we'll get it right.
Peace.
All right. And so we're out.